So for today's word investigation, I wanted to start with a word that I thought was so cool, and that word is escalatory. So I was watching the news with my husband, and I heard the commentators say the politicians' escalatory action. And I went, ooh, 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 that's the coolest word, because that's the adjective form of escalate. And honestly, I'd not heard it being used. So what I want to do to explore the word escalatory is to start with escalate, building our word sum, looking at kind of the sense of meaning and how that word works. So rather than actually starting with escalate as an entire word, we're going to break it into a word sum. So what we truly have is the prefix, in this case, E. So what do I mean by a prefix E? So this E is actually a form of spelling variation of the prefix EX, which carries the sense of meaning out. And so what we have is this E plus the free base, the actual word scale. So the size or scope of something. And so what we see to build the word escalate is that we have dropped this final E. We have added the suffix ate, which carries that sense of meaning to make or to cause. So if we build that back together, we have ESCALATE, escalate. Now, if we do the word part analysis, or what we call the morphemic analysis of this word, to be able to figure out the meaning of the word, what we have is to make or to cause something to go out in scale or size, to make it bigger. In essence, we see that something is growing in size, in scale, in scope. So escalate. Now, if we want to build that word farther, let's look at the different forms of escalate as a verb. And so I'm going to start right over here, and we are going to once again build escalate. But this time we are going to add to it the suffix s to change that present tense verb form. Escalates. And again, spelling it out is what we want to do. ESCALATES as we write it. So I'm going to do that as we move on. Now, we continue to build. Let's make that past tense. Escalate. Now, here's the trick. Escalate, when we add the suffix ed, we are not just adding a d, right? The e's already there, but we're not just adding a d because d is not a suffix, and we want to know the pattern in that word. So we are truly dropping that final e and adding the suffix ed. When we don't do that, we are missing out on meaning, right? We're missing out on the fact that that ed actually serves to change that verb into a past tense verb. It has a function. So we spell it out. ESCALATED, escalated. So then what we're going to see from there is escalating. So by doing that, drop the final E, now we have a very specific pattern. We are going to E plus scale, drop that E plus ATE to get escalate, drop that E plus ING. And now we have ESCALATING, escalating. Now, let's change that into noun form with escalation. I will erase, still getting used to the use of the board here, so it takes me just a minute. I'm kind of learning which types of markers I like. There's several different ones that have that neon look to it, so I'm kind of deciding which ones I think make it easiest to use the microfiber cloth and get most of that erased. So bear with me for just a minute as I'm kind of testing out different forms of these markers. Taking me just a second to get that done. So what we're going to do now is going to be a really important part. I'm going to leave escalatory up there since that was our focus as far as our word investigation is concerned. We will get most of that erased pretty well and build escalation. as a noun form. Now notice, by using this concept, this structured word inquiry, as we look at sense of meaning, as we look at the structure of the word, the etymology or history of the word, we look at all of these formats and functions of the word. And so let's build escalation. That's the next thing I want to do. We're talking about grammar as well, right? Because we're changing the part of speech. We're changing the function of the word. We're also changing the phonology and the pronunciation of the word as we go. Escalation versus escalatory. We're going to see that long vowel sound when we go to escalatory actually changing to a schwa sound instead. So let's escalate. Now we are adding the suffix ION. Now this is critical that we understand that TION is not a suffix. TION is a syllable. Syllables are about sound, suffixes are about meaning. ION meaning the action, the process, the state of doing something. In this case, escalating, right? So escalation, that T is actually part of that previous suffix. So we have ESCALATION, escalation. Now, let's build the word escalator. So now we're going to do E plus scale, drop that E, plus ATE, drop that E, plus OR. We'll get into ER versus OR in another video. ESCALATOR. Something that causes, right, something to escalate, to grow bigger, to grow taller, to grow outward in some way. And so now let's get to our actual word for the word investigation, and that is escalatory. That ORY being an adjective forming suffix. Again, the politician's escalatory action, which I just thought was the coolest sounding word. So now we have the E plus SCALE, drop the E. We have our ATE, drop the E, ORY. And that is going to build our target word, which was escalatory. And now we have the adjective form of that word. We have changed the phonology. The sounds have changed. Escalate with that A being a long A. Escalatory with that A shifting to a schwa sound. So we've looked at all kind of forms of it. And again, we have kind of a free base, that word scale, going through as our base all the way through the entire word. So I thought that was super cool. I hope that you enjoyed that word investigation. Stay tuned for more.